If I could. Okay, if I could, let me call this meeting to order. Visitors, thank you for coming. Members, thank you also for coming. Good day yesterday, folks. Very proud of all the work the House and Senate have done on many different items that got passed out yesterday. I think you've seen that, so very proud of that. As we begin all these meetings, I want to recognize the educators in the room. I also want to state, like I always have, that you are heroes and daily heroes. I try to say that as much as possible, and from my vantage point of what I see and what I've seen. So educators, hold your hand up and let us clap for you for saying, if you've been in the classroom or currently in the classroom teaching, there you go. Thank you very much for what you do, and House members, we always love to recognize those people that we work so hard for down here. Let me open up. We'll go all the way down to the end. Floor Leader Wade, if I could, I believe you're 29. That's an easy one to do. You mind opening us up in prayer?
Certainly. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for allowing us to be here to serve our peers, our friends, our loved ones, and all of your blessed children. Guide us, direct us, and let us be mindful that what we do today will help those in the future, especially those most precious, your children. And all this, amen.
Great. Thank you there. And let me mention that we have a sign-up sheet right up here at the podium. As we didn't have subcommittees, we're going to allow testimony at these hearings today as we're going through it. Let me also state, members, you're going to see that there's been a lot of working with Senate, different people on resolutions, so you'll see substitutes, changes in these bills, so just keep your eye on the paper, and we'll be sure to call out the LC number and take the time that we need to so you can go through the bills so you know exactly what you are voting on. We're going to start with SB 152. Senator Dolenzal, I see you in the room. Would you please come right up here to the front, to the middle? And if you would, we're going to be working off a substitute. Senator, if you would read your LC number, then I'll turn the microphone over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got here LC 492402S.
Okay.
Is that what you have, Mr. Chairman?
So let me make certain here in my packet that is the number. Yes, it is. The microphone is yours.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Good to see you all again as we head into the home stretch here. Senate Bill 152, as it passed the Senate, exists in the substitute in Section 3. And what this did was it expanded the Georgia Promise Scholarship that we passed last year to be inclusive of biological children and foster children of those adopted foster children and biological children of those parents who have participated in Georgia's foster care program over the last 10 years. One change that we had worked with DFACS to make that did not make it into this sub that I would like to see us work on before final passage is the inclusion of Georgia foster children who are going through the process of adoption. So they've been in a placement. Those foster parents who they're in the placement with are working through the process of adopting and making the Promise Scholarship available to those children as well is something that we would certainly like to see happen as well. And Mr. Chairman, I believe that the House has worked on sections 1 and 2. I don't know if you would like to discuss those changes or if you'd like me to highlight them as I understand it.
Can you discuss those? I've never seen them before in my life.
Sections 1 and 2.
Yes, please.
Let me turn that up. Yes, go ahead, Senator, if you would, best you can.
Sure. I admittedly don't fully understand what the language in Section 1 does. I believe it's around, if I understand it to be correct, we have the priority positions in the Promise Scholarship for families who earned 400% of the poverty limit or less. I believe that what you're attempting to do here, Mr. Chairman, is have information sharing between DOR and the agency to verify income allotments, and then I believe there's also some information sharing you're looking to do with DHS as it relates to information on the foster parents. Section 2 of the bill is redefines or clarifies, I guess, the attendance zone issue, and states that the attendance zone is not as the agency has currently applied it, or as the applications are currently coming in, but it ties the enrollment to essentially a one-year band of entering enrollment into a school that's on that 25% list. And I believe that is the change that is encapsulated in Section 2, and you can certainly elaborate on that if I didn't get all of that there.
No, I think that's fine. We have quite a few questions. Let me begin. I think number 3. I think you were first up.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like you, I am reading Section 1 and 2 for the first time on day 39. So let me make sure I understand. On lines 55 through 57 or 58, we have families right now that are going through an application process that, based on the attendance zones, I think some of the members on this committee have full school zones that qualify. Or what we're saying is that if you have done what we said they should do based on the last year, we made promises, because it's called the Promise Scholarship, that they will no longer be qualified under this. Is this what we're attempting to do, is make sure that certain families that are already applied do not get it, or will we grandfather those families in?
Representative, I'm in the difficult position here of opining on a policy that's in a bill of mine that the Senate does not support.
Do you not support this?
The Senate would not be supportive of this change.
Would you be okay if I strip this out?
That would be up to the will of the committee. But
Thank you.
I want to clarify your actual question. Given the effective date on July 1st of 2025, my understanding is that, yes, what you're describing is correct. As you know, the current enrollment window is open.
Yes.
It is open until April 15th. We have had about 10,000 students who have applied currently to the program. Some of those certainly would still be eligible under this change. Some of those would certainly not be eligible after this change. And that would be really a core of my concern. But I do think the way that you described the change here is accurate.
So it's more of a pinky promise, not a real promise.
Well, I would say, Representative, that this bill has undergone a lot of things and a lot of changes through the process. One thing that the House did that I would like to remind the committee of is the House capped the program at 1% of QBE. So this does not change that. So we still have a limitation on the program under current law that does not allow it to swell beyond the 1% of QBE spend. And so that's a natural I guess, governor on the program that, in my opinion, I think that since we're in process, I fear a chilling effect that may happen if families who have applied have that change. But I respect the will of the committee and the House, and this may be something that we go through a negotiation process on as it moves through the legislative process.
Number 22. Try it now.
Thank you. And as far as bringing the bill, I'm reading through it as you're talking. So if I ask a very simple question that's on here and I'm not seeing it, please point that out. When it discusses the providing for adopted children, and I see it's as defined in lines 74 through 76, my question is, does that still have a financial requirement as far as the income of those adoptive parents, or is this a blanket accepting or possibility of them automatically qualifying regardless of financial status of the adoptive parents?
That's a great question, Representative. If you look at line 83, you see a number of exclusions here, of qualifications that we no longer capture. Two things to highlight about the Promise Scholarship as currently written. There is not a hard income cap. there is a priority given to students whose families make up to 400% of the poverty limit. So there is the likely scenario that in most years in the state we would have students in the program whose families were above that income cap. So it's not a true income cap, it's a priority position. We also have the requirement in the Promise Scholarship currently that you have to reside in the attendance zone of a school that is deemed to be in the bottom 25% of schools of Georgia. What we do in this bill is we remove both of those requirements, and we essentially move these children to the very front of the line. And so we give them a preferred position in the enrollment process that would move them to the front of the line. It would allow them to essentially co-opt the 25% attendance zone provision, and it would allow them to be moved to the front of the line as it relates to both those above or below the 400% poverty limit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number one.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
You not on?
No.
Audio.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My concern, well, I got two concerns. One is, so we're saying that the kids of the foster parent, not the foster child, but their biological kids, benefit from this program, but the foster child doesn't?
There's two types of foster children that we would like. Now, the bill in front of you does not do this, to be fair. We had a suggestion for a committee sub that we just don't have in front of us now, but the Senate would add this, should this come back to us. We work with DFACS and think about a typical foster child and overlay that with the way the program works. We have parents today applying in April for a scholarship that will run through the school year that begins in the fall and goes through the spring. Under the Promise Scholarship, the parent is the one who applies and it ultimately makes the request for reimbursement. So for a foster child who is in a 3-month placement, a 6-month placement, a 9-month placement, and keep in mind, we don't know necessarily how long these placements are going to be, it's difficult to have the parent who has not have custody of their child be the one who is essentially asking for approval of that funding, and also they may not be close to the school that they otherwise would have been in. So we arrived at a place that was, we're going to have to work with DFACS. I think all of us would love to capture all foster kids. The place that we got to with DFACS is that we could capture those that have already been adopted, those who are in the process of being adopted, and then the biological children of those parents who have taken on this burden to help the state take care of some of the most needy children in our population.
Another follow-up question, Mr. Chair. So how do we stop the bad actors? Because my understanding is these kids are still going through the process of being fostered, right?
Some of the children will have been adopted. Some will be through the process of being adopted.
Going
Some
through
of
the
them will be
process.
biological children of those
Okay.
foster parents.
So what happens if people are taking advantage of the system and the process, and they end up not adopting the kids?
So
Do their kids still get to take advantage of the?
they would have had to have been foster parents already.
For how long?
They would have, the way that the bill currently is, we essentially say that if you've been a foster parent one time, then that would allow you to be in. Now, what we know is that the vast, vast majority of foster parents in the state take multiple placements. And that's the type of parent that we're trying to help, is those that are on a consistent rhythm, as most foster families are, of bringing in children, fostering them for a period of time, and then hopefully getting them back with their biological parents.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to number 29.
Thank you, Chairman. And this is just a friendly question. Just as a parent of children, and we've had the discussion how next year is going to be where we'll have one child in elementary, one child in the middle school. So that's kind of where our family is about to be. For those students, if we go back to this language where it is based on the school versus attendance zone, is there any concern or potential consideration for those families that have siblings, that if there is a student that is in that school, that student shall have an opportunity, as well as siblings? Just since we're having this conversation of foster and adoptive and siblings, I think this is about families and acknowledging it. I don't know the number that would impact statewide. My understanding so far is that the full allotment of 1%, we're nowhere near that application level as of to date. I'm assuming at some point we will hit that threshold. I'm just I'm just throwing that out there because I'm concerned about an unintended consequence where families are going to be. It's just going to create a dynamic. So I just opened that up because it's something that jumped out to me because we were literally having the conversation of which grandparent or parent or who's going to pick up whom type situation. So just throwing that out there.
Thank you, Leader. I appreciate that. We have about 10,000 students who have applied. Not all of those have been approved. They're going through an approval process. Not all of them will be approved. We have multiple application windows that we still have to get through before the fall. I would agree with you. I think that the advantage of the program, the way that it is now, it does allow continuity, both for the student who wants to have a K through 12 experience that is at the same school through their entire K through 12 journey, but then also, as you mentioned, the potential disruption that would happen where you may have parents who are trying to manage, multiple children who have children in different schools when they might want them all to be at the same school. I appreciate that question.
Members, we're going to point to you that we got a lot of questions here. We also have quite a few bills and quite a few people to speak. Some of these questions probably need to wait till we let the audience speak. Some, we'll cover a couple more before that, though. Number 15.
Thank you, Chairman. First, I want to say that I believe that everyone on this committee cares about Georgia's children's education. A concern that I have based on the way this legislation became law, and we have all these children who want to be in different schools. My understanding that the language was subject to appropriations up to that 1%. But based on how it's been interpreted, we have way more children that want access than what I think was anticipated. And we're on the verge of possibly a recession. So how will this new language help address that from a financial standpoint? And I think you said that somewhere they're going to clarify this part with the adopted children, because I have a concern. I have a really good friend who was going to be a foster parent, spent a little time, life changed, and they ended up not going with her. So I think we had to figure out how we tied it up. But the biggest thing, if we're making a commitment to these children, and if Georgia doesn't have the money, historically we know we had austerity cuts, and we don't want to see that. How are we really going to do that versus how do we really fix what we keep saying is broken?
Thank you for that question, Representative. And two thoughts. One, we have about 10,000 applications, which is what I just told Leader Wade, and we've at the funding level that Governor Kemp has in his budget, which is to fully fund the program, we have room for a little bit over 20,000 scholarships. So we have a lot of headroom still to go in the program for this year. And we may reach a point, to be fair, where we are oversubscribed. And if we are oversubscribed, what we are saying in this bill is we believe that foster families, after having served the state in the very important capacity of fostering our foster children, that we want to have a policy position where we move them to the front of the line. But thankfully, in this year's budget, we were able to fully fund this program and fully fund QBE, as well as have a number of other expenditures that were in the education space, like our school safety commitment that we've made.
And one further clarity, so the children who are permanently in these communities where we've identified these schools at the lowest 25%, you're saying if they're not a foster child, they're going to be put behind foster children? Is that what this language is saying?
That would be the case. So we would anticipate a couple hundred students that would be eligible under this provision of the 22,000 that Governor Kemp has, or approximately 22,000 that Governor Kemp has appropriated funding for.
Let me state this and tell you the position. I'm going to take one more question at this time. Then what I'm going to do, Senator, for your purpose, I'm going to suspend the discussion on this and bring you back. I know you have to be at your Senate rules, I believe, in just 5 minutes. So I'm going to allow, if you would, just take one more question, then I'm going to allow you to leave. We've got a long list to go through today, and we'll go through those. And if you would check back with us if you get through in time.
Sure, thank you,
that would
Chairman.
be helpful. I'm going to go to number 4. I think you've been blinking the longest.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Simple question, I guess. I always wonder what's the motivation for these type bills? Why foster children? Why not military children? Why not homeless children? Why foster children? Is there some evidence somewhere that they need to be moved in the front of the line?
Sure. Thank you for that question.
And I do support foster children.
Yeah.
I have family members that are foster
The
parents.
Senate has done both.
Yeah.
So we have passed two separate bills, one which is a similar bill for the children of active duty military parents, as well as this bill. They're two separate bills. They're not traveling together, but I would say both of those can and should be a priority. I'm not sure, I believe that the Senate, I'm not sure where that got assigned in the House, perhaps in this committee as well, but we did pass a similar measure for active duty military. As it relates to homeless, that's not something that I have written a bill for, but would be open to that conversation as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And
Chairman,
what
I've got
we'll
my-
do then, we'll suspend this talk. Please check back in with the senator, and we'll pick up on some other bills and
Thank you,
come
Chairman.
back. Thank you,
Members of the committee.
Senator. There. I'm gonna move on until we can revisit this issue here. I do know that there's quite a bit to do today. So I can get the ball moving a little bit. I see Chairman Blackman is in the room, who has dropped a resolution. Chairman Blackman, you're on our list for you to come up. We're going to ask you, if you would, Chairman Blackman, to give us your resolution number, LC number, and then I'll give the microphone over to you. And wait, let me call out your number. Your number is HR 887, members. Should be in the back of your packet. You're up.
Thank you, Mr.
Read
Chair.
that LC.
All right, yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. It's LC 492403.
Perfect. That's what we're working off of. Mike's yours.
Can't say much nice about the author, but the second signer is a fine gentleman. It really is something I know that you and I and some other members have discussed regarding some of the administrative burden and local control and some of the mandates that we see, and possibly a study committee that would take a little bit of a look and overview of what's going on there and how we could possibly ease these administrative burdens, and revisit some local control with regard to our K through 12 education system in our public schools. Mr. Chairman, try to answer any questions if I could, and you can probably answer them as good or better than I can.
Good. Our discussion is not true. It's just looking at if there is cleanup needed within that code section that might not have been used or was not appropriate today in education, to study it, make recommendations to this body next year at what needs to be cleaned up, how much. Is that not our discussion?
Yes, sir, very much a sort of a code revision for education statutes, if you will.
Okay. We'll allow a few questions, and then again, members, we're going to move on quickly. Number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excellent study committee. One thing I would like to offer, if you're open to it, is I would love to see we do our best work when we work together. So I would like to add some clarity to lines 30, saying that increasing that number from 6 to 7, because it's always better to work in odd numbers, and 4 of those would be from the majority party and 3 from the minority party appointed by the speaker. That way we can make sure we get representation from both parties.
I submit to the will of the chairman of the committee.
Okay. Let me keep going around the room. Number 15.
Thank you, Chairman. You may have helped me already, because I was wanting an example of something that we will be considering overburdening the administrators. But I think you may have, but if you can give us kind of an example of what kind of things you guys will be looking.
I don't think there was anything specific. I think it was much more of a general snapshot, and obviously we have a lot of obsolescence in our code, and I think maybe that's where we would start, Madam Representative.
So they may be happy with us when this is over, instead of saying we're giving them more work?
I sure would like to think so.
I would too. Quickly, number 16.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for this. I love it. Is now when I ask for my name to be put in the hat for this committee?
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
You just did.
Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take one more, and then we're going to move on. Number 11.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, there's a Senate bill out there that I know you're aware of, Senate Bill 28, that creates for a periodic review of rules and regs, and I believe DOE may be covered underneath that. How does this study committee maybe work in tandem with this, or is it additive? Is it duplicative? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that one speaks largely to rules and regs, within the department. I think this is more be focused on statute, and I know you work, a great deal within the statute, so obviously you would be a great member, a resource, if so desired, I would imagine, but.
You know how to earn a girl's vote.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you.
I hope that answers your question, Mr. Chairman.
All right, what I'm going to do is let nobody has signed up. This is a House resolution, so I'm just going to call the question here. Those, or do I have a motion? We do have a motion. We do have a second. Let me read through the number, LC number again. I've got LC 492403. We got a motion and a second. We got discussion that we will attend, and I got a feeling I know what it's going to be. Number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like the committee to consider this, and maybe Legislative Council can clean this up. But on line 30, I would like to change 6 to 7 members of the House of Representatives to be appointed by the Speaker of the House of Representatives. 4 members will be from the majority party, and 3 members will be from the minority party. And the Speaker shall designate a member of the committee as the chair of the committee. So basically, I want to have fairness. If you want to make that 5-2, I'm fine, but I just want to make sure that we have some type of representation.
Okay, let me entertain number 26 before I need to go to Legislative Council. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think in most study committees I've seen work, we've seen a deference to the Speaker to choose who he thinks is appropriate for this, and also that they are, I think we've seen Speaker Burns be very fair and balanced in this legislative session, and that I would be against making that change.
Okay. Back to number 3.
Thank you, and I respect that. The only reason I bring this up is because last summer there were a number of discussions that we were not involved in, and I think we ended up getting to the right place in some of this legislation. We could have avoided that if we had been more thoughtful in those conversations. So I think the Speaker has the ability to make that 5-2, or maybe we say at least 3 members or at least 2 members will be from the minority party. If we give a minimum, I would feel better, but it's up to y'all if you don't want to pass the amendment. But thank you. I think I don't know.
I'll come back to you for that. Let me ask Legislative Council, what is the norm in this situation where it is being amended? Who is on it? I know there's kind of a standard of allowing the Speaker, sometimes the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and joint committees. What is the standard?
I wouldn't say that there is a rigid standard, Chairman. That is the most common practice, yes. For a House committee, it is the common practice, the overwhelmingly common practice, to defer to the Speaker for appointment. On the Senate side, it would very often be either the Lieutenant Governor or the President pro tem of the Senate. If there's a joint commission, the Governor will sometimes be deferred to make appointments. So there are different approaches, but for House committees, the overwhelming tradition and practice is to defer to the Speaker. Nevertheless, there would be no prohibition for providing for specificity in the makeup of the study committee members, if that is what the committee were to move forward with.
Would it be inappropriate to recommend to the Speaker that there be balance of minority and majority?
It would not, and there are examples of it happening.
Okay. And so Back to you, number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maybe we make it that at least 2 members, is this Mr. Author, maybe at least 2 members from each party, and then leave it up to the speaker how he does the other 4, or I mean, would that be okay, or is the opposition any? We were okay with I guess they're okay with the amendment, but if you want to meet us halfway, we'll.
Thank you, Chairman. I think traditionally, as I've seen, as Legislative Council said, we let the speaker and we elect him to do this job and to be fair and balanced and thoughtful, and I stand with that.
Well, with that, I'll stay on my original amendment, that 4 and 3, and we'll just go from there. If I have a second, I guess.
Okay, we've got to amend this resolution with a 4 and from the majority party on this study committee, and 3 from the minority party. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. We've got a 4 and 3, and we've got an amendment on. Would you read it to us, please?
I will. Yes, and just for clarification, in these situations, we refer to the caucus, so there would be the representatives from the majority caucus or from the minority caucus.
Gotcha. Okay.
Rather than the partisan reference.
Okay. Good there. Okay. Let's see. We've got a motion and a second. Let's vote. All in favor of the motion and second, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. I think we're going to have to do a show of hands so that I'm certain. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay. All opposed, raise your hand.
7.
Okay, I'll
Don't do it, Mr. Chairman. Don't do it.
break a tie. We want to leave it a tie, and that's a do nothing. We go back to the way we were. Is that what y'all want me to do? Yes.
In a tie, a motion fails.
The chairman can break a tie.
Yeah, but a chairman can break the tie.
But do you want to?
Do I want? I'm on your side. Don't think I'm not. But we're going to let the amendment die on that, and we're going to stay. And what we will do is we'll ask the speaker that we think, author, that it would be good to balance. Would you feel good about that?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman.
I do. I feel no trouble with those being on the group that he chooses, and I think that'll happen, members. This is a what I don't want to call a cleanup bill, but make better bill is what I'll say. Now let's go to a vote on this bill if we can, and see if we can make some of this Code 20 better. All right, we've got a motion and a second for the bill. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. It passes. Thank you. Good thinking. Chairman, appreciate that. Let's move you on to rules. Remember, you need a form to be signed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Grateful. Appreciate
Thank
that.
you. All right, we can check one off finally. Let's get going here and see if we can keep making policy. I'm trying to look. Okay. What I understand right now is Senate Bill 179, Clint Dixon, he's also had to head out to another committee meeting. Representative Ballard, you're going to present that bill to us, if you would, down to the front. Read your LC number to us, and we'll turn the microphone over to you. All right, pull it out here, and let's do this, members. Thank you for your hard work, your good conversation. I'd really like to have one we smile about, so we're going to put a little pressure on you, Ms. Ballard. Let's smile about 179, we hope.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got LC 492409S.
Perfect. That's it. Microphone's yours.
Okay, members of the committee, you might remember that we had, I see people looking confused. Is everybody? It wasn't in your folder. It was like laid out separately, I think.
$179. Do we not have it? Is that what you're saying? Everybody got $179?
Okay.
I think everybody has it.
Okay, I was seeing confused.
Oh,
confused
and the
faces.
amendment that was added. That's it. I got you. We had the amendment there, which was AM 490270.
Yes, okay. So members of the committee, you might remember that I had a version of this legislation. Last year it passed out of this committee. It didn't quite make it over the finish line, which is, I think, the story of our lives here. And so we've worked on literacy a lot over the past 3 years, and I want us to work on a different type of literacy, and that is computer literacy. Digital literacy. So this bill will require our students to take a computer science class as a mandate for graduation. It would start in the 2031-2032 school year, but it would be for the graduating class of 2037, which, like, that's weird to think about 2037. What this bill does, it would just mandate that requirement that they take a computer science class or a CTAE course embedded with computer science. It would allow for students to be instructed virtually in computer science with a proctor on site if necessary. And then the last part of the bill changes that reimbursement of the cost of tuition for the Georgia Virtual School, because that has not been adjusted since like 2012. And it's been a minute since 2012. We worry a lot and we talk a lot about AI and technology taking people's jobs, taking our children's jobs. So I want to figure out a way to prepare our kids to be the ones creating these new technologies and not fearing the new technologies. This is going to be a game changer everywhere in our state, but most importantly for our rural communities. And thank you, Mr. Chair and Committee. And with that, I will take questions.
But let me do this. I see DOE is sitting at the table.
Yes.
If I can, I know that you worked closely, so
I
did the Senate author with the DOE, in matter of fact, for multiple years. If I can, would you come up, sit next to her, speak into the microphone, introduce yourself? I know these members know you, but would like you to introduce yourself and have the discussion about DOE working with the authors of this bill, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee members. And thank you to Representative Ballard. We have worked over the last couple of years pretty extensively on the computer science portion to make sure that it's not a burden on school districts, particularly from a scheduling standpoint, adding units of credit for graduation, things like that, but yet also are highly favorable of more kids taking computer science classes. So over the last couple years and sessions, we've worked a lot. One of the key differences that is very helpful for schools is that this pushes it down to where that credit can be earned in 8th grade. So at the middle school level, particularly because of connections classes, that can be a connections. We actually have one of our state board rules is going to put that computer science as a connections pathway, which middle school kids have to have. Also pushes the timeline out so that we can gear up for making sure that we have adequate number of teachers. The virtual component is very important, particularly in rural districts that may not be able to get enough certified computer science teachers. So having that virtual option is critical. And then as I guess a separate part of this bill, but goes along with this as well, the Georgia Virtual School connection, increasing that reimbursement, as Representative Ballard said, hadn't been increased since 2012, and it was at $250. This would simply increase that to $350, contracting costs, things like that. So with that, happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you. And thank you for the work on this bill. I've seen a lot of communication back and forth over the course of 2 years on it. Again, I'm going to move as quickly as we do have a timeline, and hopefully returning to a bill number 17. I think you were flashing first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much, Representative Ballard, for bringing this. My only question, there's so many things that we actually need to make sure that our students are ready to hit the marketplace, and certainly computer science, AI, financial or fiscal responsibility and financial information is good for our students. I see we're going to take 6 years to get there, so it's not burdensome. I know we've done things in the past where we have put money to it so that we could move that time frame up, and you guys probably have visited that, but I would like you to talk to us a little bit more. 6 years in the future for computer science seems to be a stretch when everything is there already and we're probably behind in mandating this. Is there a way that, or you guys have discussed and looked to see if there's money that we could put in the budget to move this up, just so that Georgia is not so far behind in this particular mandate?
Give me a turn.
I can answer part, you can answer part.
Okay.
As with everything that we roll out with a date, our schools are more than welcome to go ahead and start putting all of these classes in and get, everybody used to everything, and then the actual graduation requirement can stay that way. But a lot of our schools are already ahead of the game. I think it's our rural schools that are a little bit behind, and so we just really want to make sure that they do this well. I think sometimes doing things fast means they're not maybe done as well and as thoughtfully, and I think that our motivation is to just give everybody time. But a lot of our schools have wonderful computer science pathways. My school district does, and are developing more. So schools can go ahead and start this. They don't have to wait on this date. But I just want to give everybody time, and I think that I don't want to speak for DOE, but I think that that's their motivation.
I just have a follow-up question, if you don't mind. So we've said that the rural schools are probably the ones that are behind, and then we say there are systems that are really ahead of the ball game, and we really want parity. We don't want our rural children to continue to fall behind. So my question was, is there not a real focus to make sure that there's parity, particularly between rural, urban, and suburban children, where we could utilize money within the budget to help foster this parity?
I'd love to have money in the budget, but I think that deal is done for this particular year, and I think that this is an ongoing conversation, as so many of our conversations in this committee are.
The only thing I would add is that we do have many of our school districts that are doing it, but one of the key issues is trying to find all of the teachers, and many of those are going to need to be virtual. That's part of where we would need time to ramp up as well.
We're going to try to move quick. Members, I believe two.
Thank you, Chairman. Representative, thank you for bringing the bill. I really do appreciate the runway so that we can be thoughtful with the rollout. And to Matt's point, the logistics, the recruitment of educators, there's a lot of moving parts that we're going to have to wrap our hands around. What have we learned from other states? And maybe this is a question for you, Matt. What have we learned from other states that have made computer science a graduation requirement? What are some takeaways that we can pull in to make this transition more seamless?
Representative Ballard actually may be able to speak more to that in terms of those who have made a credit requirement. I know that with the adding that in the middle school, we're trying to get it down earlier so that they're not waiting actually until the high school level, so that they're more likely to take high school courses. I'll let you speak to that.
I don't know that I can speak to the rollout. I haven't been privy to the rollout process in a lot of these states, but I will tell you this: South Carolina's graduation rate went up after the computer science graduation mandate. So that, that's something to look at. And also, now that there is a mandate in some of these states, female participation in computer science in higher education is up. It's like girls didn't want to take it. They didn't choose to take it in high school, but when it was a mandate, they got in there and they're like, this is really cool and I like this a lot. And they are going on in higher education and pursuing more STEM fields in the kind of computer technological area. So I can't speak to rollouts in a lot of states, but I think we're seeing the benefit of getting it done in other states, especially southern states like South Carolina.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 11.
My bad, Mr. Chair.
Caught you.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
I swear you did that on purpose.
Cell phone
I did
bill?
the distraction free. Let that be an example. Computer science is not always,
Caught you.
This may be just my uneducated, as I've already proved this afternoon. Can you explain to me lines 89, 92? It's talking about modern language, Latin credit, fine arts. I was trying to read through the legalese here and figure out how all those connect back to computer science.
Those are what it can be subbed out for.
So I can do like...
Or not subbed out for, as the case may be. Like, you could count this, for example, your computer science class could be 1 unit of your math credit, except for those that are listed.
Okay, so I can't sub out computer science for a fine arts credit. Like I can't take drama and have that count for computers. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Number 3, I believe you were next.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the long runway like the others because my son had said this several years ago. He's about to graduate this year. He did not look at computer science specifically because of AI. At this point, graduates that are graduating with AI degrees, with computer science degrees, are having an extremely hard time because AI is doing their job for them. My concern is that if we mandate computer science, we're mandating them for something that is kind of moving away, because I just typed in like a couple of words and ChatGPT gave me a whole paragraph on making I could sound really smart right now. And so my concern is that mandating a class for you're taking away something. There's only a certain amount of hours in a day. Are we moving resources from literacy or something else to do this?
No. And, computer science is much more than AI. It involves the algorithmic processes, which is critical thinking skills. I think we would agree all of our children need more critical thinking skills. It's coding, it's digital ethics, which is the ethical use of technology. Just because you can do a thing does not necessarily mean you should do that thing, and I think we see that in our AI discussions. Children need to learn how to do this, use technology ethically as they go through their life, because it is in every career field now. My son he's a computer engineering major, and his professors do tell him that like what they are learning on right this second will be obsolete because things are happening so fast, but what they are learning is the critical thinking aspect. They are learning how to learn and how to learn on their own in the future. And I think that's our goal for all of our kids, is for them to be lifelong learners and be able to exist in a world where things are changing so incredibly quickly.
Okay, I'm going to just entertain one more, and then we're going to talk about the amendment number 16.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question was on the amendment. I was going to ask to speak about the amendment if we were there yet. So
we're going to bring it up.
So
good. That helps save a little time. Ms. Fralick, come on up. If you wouldn't, sit next to the carrier of this bill too, so the three of y'all can confer here. Members, what we want you to do is hear the amendment so you get the whole idea of the total bill here, and then we'll be entertaining a motion in a second. But we'll turn the podium over to you, Ms. Fralett.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the
Describe who you are and
Yeah.
what your amendment is.
I'm Lauren Fralett with Fralett Bozeman Public Affairs, and we represent online high schools, and there are currently over 5,000 kids that we know of enrolled at our high schools, and so we want those kids to be captured so that the state knows that they are enrolled in an online high school. Right now, they don't have to report that data to the state, and so we want them to report that data so that you guys have a better picture of where students are. And so this amendment says that online schools would have to report to the county in which the student lives that they are actually enrolled in the online high school. And so it's basically exempting them from the 12 months and 180-day equivalency requirement, because online high schools don't go 180 days. They are going at the rate at which the student wants to learn. And so they don't have the same, attendance requirements as our regular brick and mortar schools do. But that's what it's trying to accomplish.
Let me entertain a few questions on the amendment, number 11.
Paying attention this time. So does this apply to private school, private online? Flush out a little bit.
Yes, and so these are non-public online schools, and so it would apply to private online schools.
So there exist private online only schools.
That's right.
To which this would apply.
Yes. So they have to submit who's registered in their school at the beginning of the school year within the first 30 days to say who's enrolled, and they report that data to the county in which the student lives.
So I guess DOE, do we not have insights into these kids and currently?
Handing microphone, speak in the microphone, please.
Yeah, if they're not captured or reported to us by a district as part of student record collections, we wouldn't necessarily know.
Okay. So the point or the goal of this is to sort of capture, to know these kids are out there taking online classes.
Exactly. You guys have been, I know y'all have been focused on attendance, and there's going to be a study committee on attendance and truancy. And so this just kind of gives you more data to know however many thousands of schools or kids are actually enrolled in online schools, to have that information as y'all study that throughout the summer and fall.
What's an example of it? I'd be curious to name one so I could Google it while I'm sitting here.
Penn Foster High School and James Madison High School are the ones that we work for.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just a few quick questions. Number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real quick, so if a student takes the Promise Scholarship, goes to a private school, but is doing it online, would they now have to be tracked through their local school district? And would that school district be responsible for keeping these records, even though that student has taken the money and going somewhere else?
So these schools don't qualify for the Promise Scholarship because they are online private schools, but so that wouldn't apply in this case.
I thought the Promise Scholarship has to be used for. I thought you could use it for different.
Not for online.
You can use it for private schools, but not
school.
online private schools.
Okay, so this would apply to like the special needs. No, you can't use that for either.
No.
Oh wow.
These aren't.
So you got to go
these
to a brick and mortar.
scholarships-
So if you're somewhere where there's not a private school near you, you can't use the Promise Scholarship. Wow. Okay.
I mean, I don't know all the answers about those two scholarships, but I know that this school is not allowed to use the Promise Scholarship.
Okay.
Let's go quickly. 15.
Oh, I just wanted to make the motion at the appropriate time.
Okay. One more question then. One more. 16.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Does this change the definition of what a private school is throughout the entire code?
I don't believe so. I think it's just adding them into the reporting requirements for attendance, for compulsory attendance.
Just for attendance.
We're going to let
Let
legislative
council address
We
that.
will.
Oh, okay.
That is essentially the answer, yes. That definition is specific to this part in the code, which deals with student attendance.
Thank you.
All right. Now, number 15, we're to you.
Oh, well, thank you. I'd like to move that we pass SB 179 LC 492409S as amended.
We got a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. We've got to talk about this amendment, I believe, and vote on it first. Members, so can we, since I don't see anybody but number 12, what do you got?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that AM 490270 do pass.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second on the amendment as a do pass. Let's go ahead, not seeing any discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Okay, your amendment passed, and now let's go to the bill and see if we can get the correct bill as amended here. It's LC 492409S. As amended is what we are voting on. We have a do pass and a second. Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. We have one no. Your bill passes as amended. Thank you. Get the rule sheet signed and get ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman,
to get
members
in
of the
rules
committee.
so we can go. Thank you. Mr. Secretary, I'm going to ask you to come up. I'm going to come down for a minute and cover, members, I'm going to cover HR 711 with you. We take it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, we will be looking at House Resolution 711. Mr. Chairman,
Ready to
floor
go.
is yours. Yes,
I'm
sir.
reading from, Mr. Chairman, up there, LC 492370, which is House Resolution 711. Members, basically what this does, as you recall, we passed Senate Bill 123, carried by Pro Tem Kennedy this year, dealing with chronic absenteeism in the state of Georgia. He also is recommending a study committee on chronic absenteeism from the Senate. We want to run concurrent in the same way and see what findings we can find together. And that's what this is doing, is trying to put us studying it and them studying it. This is not a joint. This is going to be ourselves doing it. So that is what HR 711 does for us as you read through it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've got a couple questions. First one to your my right, your left, number 28. Representative Townsend with a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two things. First, Chairman, assume you saw, if you've seen this in your previous school career yourself as principal and superintendent when you were back in the day.
Chronic absenteeism, for sure. The importance, as you might recall, Superintendent Townsend, we ended up hiring personnel to help us with the chronic absenteeism that was occurring, and it benefited the kids as well as the parents. And since COVID, we've gone through some similar problems of regressing to more and more students being absent and needing the need of trying to get them to school. So, yes, sir.
Definitely, and at the appropriate time.
That's a smart committee member right there. Number 16 to my left.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to suggest that we make the same sort of amendment that my colleague did for the makeup of this, since it's just the House especially, the makeup of this committee, which was moving it from 6 to 7 and then having 4-3. Was that your amendment, David? As I remember it, I would like to suggest that we.
I think we
forward that amendment.
All right. Well, at the appropriate time, I'll allow you.
At the appropriate time, of course.
Seeing no other questions, I'll entertain a motion on House Resolution 711. Motion to approve. All right. Do I have a second? All right. At this now would be the appropriate time for.
for for an amendment?
Yes.
Okay, so I would amend the members on line 37. The committee shall be composed of 7 members of the House of Representatives, and have that same sort of majority 4, minority 3.
I think it's 6, isn't it?
Can you give us a few minutes for Democrats to come back in real quick?
Well, apparently I don't know what I'm doing.
So, Representative, the proposed committee is 6 members. So,
Right.
would you like it to be 5-1, 4-2?
No, I was moving 6 to 7, correct? What did I say that was wrong?
I'm sorry.
6 to 7 and make it 4-3.
Okay,
How does that not add up?
that adds up. Is Ledge Council okay? Okay, I'm getting a head nod. All right. Do we have a second to the amendment? All right. We will entertain a motion we will, all in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? All right. Well,
Wow, that was such a dispirited.
my friends
no.
on the right, a little more enthusiasm. Let's go. All right. Let's count hands. All in favor, raise your hand.
Oh, Bethany, we almost had you. Oh.
Distraction-free act. Distraction-free act. Get off your phones, ladies and gentlemen.
That was really beautiful.
I'm gonna ban it now. I'm gonna ban it here. All right. You have the count, right?
We do.
All in favor. All right. All opposed, like sign. Raise your hand.
You're not supposed to vote.
I'm not supposed to vote? Okay. Can he vote?
Yes, he can vote.
Okay. Will you vote, please?
No.
Thank you.
I don't want the speaker after me, guys. The speaker makes this decision.
All right. The amendment fails. On to any discussion on the motion do pass. Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed, like sign. All right.
I just want to thank for the funny moment out of our representative out there. That needs to go down as a humorous moment at the Ed Committee.
Education never fails to deliver. This is why the bloopers. Yeah. I know.
Let's see if we can cut this back on. Representative, I believe you're up with 310. Let's read 310 members, if we can begin with this. I've had some very good discussions with the author and very good idea as we're looking to investigate this, knowing this is the first year of the biennium. And if you would, read your LC number, Representative, and we will turn the microphone over to you.
All right, y'all. I'm reading off of LC 610107.
Perfect. That's it. It's yours.
Thank you, Chairman, and good afternoon, members of the committee. I'm presenting House Bill 310. It's a pretty straightforward bill. It would establish a grant subject to appropriations to compensate college students for completing their student teaching program. Currently, student teaching requires an unpaid 40-hour-a-week internship in the classroom for at least one full semester, or the equivalent of 500 hours. The grant would provide $7,500 per student teacher in good standing, similar to other states such as Kentucky, Michigan, and Tennessee. Last month and throughout the legislative session, I've had a number of conversations with student teachers who are dealing with rising tuition, rent, gas, and other living expenses, all while balancing schoolwork and full-time student teaching responsibilities without any pay. As a result, many are dropping out of teacher education programs and are overwhelmed and burnt out before they even enter a profession that currently has a 50% attrition rate in the first 5 years. So I see this effort as a workforce development solution to address our teacher shortage and ongoing efforts to recruit and retain the very best to educate our children. Removing financial burdens for aspiring educators will enable more college students to complete their teacher program, their teaching program, gain hands-on classroom experience and skills while transitioning to and staying in the teaching profession. The stipend ensures student teachers receive the mentorship and structured learning experiences necessary for their long-term success, leading to better prepared educators, lower turnover, and stronger education system for all children. With that, I appreciate the opportunity, Chairman, to discuss the bill, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you, and thank you for this bill, Representative. Let's, as we do well in education here, let's dig into this a little bit, as we've got an opportunity of maybe doing something very good here. Number 28, I believe you were blinking first.
Yes, sir. A couple questions. Thanks for this bill, by the way. Student teaching is definitely important, and it's hard to work on weekends and student teach at the same time and do your job effectively, especially in the beginning. So I do appreciate this. Couple questions. One, the amount of money you said shall not exceed $7,500. Would this just be state appropriations, and how many student teachers are we talking about? Is it up to $7,500? Is it county led? And then second, in your rural systems, your small systems, as long as they've got the state money, they could afford to have student teachers. If they didn't have the state money, then would they be able to afford being able to have student teachers on their premises, since they'd have to be giving out the grants?
No, great questions, Representative. So it would be $7,500 per student teacher, and it would be a grant program. And so student teachers would be able to apply for the grant, and I believe the grant would be dispersed by the local school district. So those grant dollars would flow from DOE to the local school district, which would then provide that stipend to the student teacher themselves.
Is it a competitive grant, or is it whoever applies gets the grant?
Whoever applies who hasn't already received a grant. You had asked about the head count. I want to say about 2 years ago, there were a little over 6,000 student teachers. So you're looking at about just under $50 million if all were to receive the stipend.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Very important person dealing with the largest piece of the budget, I believe, number 12. Chairman?
It's just ones and zeros, Mr. Chairman. A couple of comments here and there. Representative, thank you for the bill. If I could ask a couple of questions, could you go with me to line 37? And this may be something that's already in place from the way that we disperse grants, but why are we talking about installment payments here? Is that a choice that was made, or is that standard in our other grant programs?
So there are two options. One would be providing the stipend upon completion of the program. If you can imagine being a college student, it doesn't help you much to receive those funds after the semester is over. Expenses, rent, gas, food, those are month-to-month expenses that you need resources to address. And so our work was to not make the grant, to not make this the awarding of the grant upon completing the student teaching program, and to provide students with some financial assistance along the way.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, if I could.
You can.
So, Representative, are you aware that we've increased teacher pay by $9,500 over the last soon-to-be 6 fiscal years?
I am.
And are you aware that we've passed multiple bills in the last 5 years out of this committee aimed at providing tax credits to our teachers in outside of metro areas?
Yes, sir.
I'm not questioning the bill or the approach. I'm simply asking out loud, we continue to see the same unfortunate trend and trend line in that direction to that retention rate that you mentioned, and how we know teachers are leaving the profession. Is there any kind of research or data that other states have seen that? So we've talked about teachers before, and we talked about teacher pay, and we've worked on pre-K pay and bringing those assistants in parity from a pay standpoint. Is there anything that says if we now go to the student teachers that we get a better retention rate, and anything that you could share with this committee from that standpoint?
No, it's a great question. No specific data that points to that financial burden or hardship directly impacting student teachers' ability to complete the program, but the program itself. But there's a ton of anecdotal evidence that suggests that without compensation to work 40 hours a week for the course of a semester, in some cases the entire year, you can't even work. It impairs your ability to learn and be an effective student. And it's a critical component of any educator's preparation to step into the classroom. And so you can find alternative paths to the classroom. There's a lot of evidence that suggests without that component, without that in-classroom experience, you're less prepared. And I think it's a matter of the value that we assign this profession in helping college students with many options want to stick it through and complete those student teaching programs.
Just as Chairman Irwin said, as I get asked for a lot of money, contemplating a $50 million ask, I just want to know, where we could head with that, and what kind of return we get on that investment, and is there any data out there that helps see that? So I'd love to work with you on this and talk through that a little bit more, and how we can, garner the necessary data points to move towards something like this.
I appreciate it, and it's why we're having the conversation, and I'm open to again getting us on base to collect that information and have more evidence to suggest the positive impact of providing that compensation.
Okay, let me move on. I believe 23, you were up next.
Thank you so much for bringing the bill. My two colleagues over here took really all of my questions, but I do think this is a conversation worth having. Back 100 years ago when I did my student teaching, I remember that that semester was hard, and I didn't have an extra job. I don't think I could have worked an extra job and done my best in my student teaching. So I think it is worth looking at what we can do to help these kids in their college career and really be successful teachers and be successful student teachers. So thank you.
Thank you.
Number 29.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to my colleague for the bill. Just one question, and you may know the answer, and if you don't, I'd like to defer to our Appropriations Chairman. Do we know how much we currently are giving in debt forgiveness for teachers across the state of Georgia once they finish their college career and then they take any job? Are we doing anything like that currently?
I'm not sure, Representative. I don't have a specific number.
I couldn't remember. I know there have been in the past a couple proposals about in areas of the state that were needing to recruit teachers when they had openings. That was a part of the discussion.
Let me point. We're doing this here and only. I'd ask, let's go to offline. That's a great question.
Okay.
And I think we need to dig into the real answer on that, as well as, the fact, I'd like to know how many, talking to our colleges, of our student teachers that complete student teaching that never teach.
That's my second question, Mr. Chairman, so thank you.
Okay. Let me, so we can go offline and try to catch a few of these as we get going. I'm going to stop for a minute with the question. We've got a few people signed up to speak to your bill here, and I'd like to hear from them if I can. So those in the audience that have signed up here for us on 310, Skylar Munley. There you go, Skylar, right up there. Introduce yourself. And then the podium is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Representative Phil, and the rest of the committee for being here and hearing this bill. My name is Skylar Nunley. I am the state student organizer for the Georgia Association of Educators and a former fifth grade social studies teacher that recently completed student teaching. So this is a very personal bill, and I'm really happy that Representative Phil has brought this forward. I don't want to repeat what was already said, but I do really want to highlight the fact that was pointed out that student teaching is a 40-hour-a-week unpaid internship where they are inside the classroom working. But it doesn't just stop there. They have classes that they are completing simultaneously. They're having to actually prepare for their classroom, prepare for teaching, grading assignments. That 40 hours turns into 50, turns into 60 hours a week, finding less and less time for students to actually make their, meet their needs, to pay for their rent, to pay for their mileage, especially if they're outside of the metro. Student teachers drive as much of an hour both ways, getting back and forth, speaking with some students at Georgia Southern. So it's really important that we start to compensate some of these pieces. I've done a lot of research at the federal level with Prepared to Teach. We've looked at about 17 other states that have done this, and I'd be more than happy to share that research with anybody. I've compiled some of it on these papers here. But one thing I'd really like to point out is that while it's no surprise that the vast majority of students' debt comes in that senior year whenever they're in an education program, the vast majority of that debt does not come from tuition. It comes from living expenses, and that has been found in every single state where we've done the study, and we are working hard to do the study in the state of Georgia right now. So I would urge you all to continue to research this, to look at the research that we're planning to share with you all, and to consider compensating these student teachers. As of right now, there is no state program that can reimburse that debt that is incurred. There's a federal program that is pretty inconsistently distributed to students. We don't really have a lot of resources for these students, and they're not going to get these resources when they graduate. So I think it's really important that we acknowledge that these people that are student teachers have that passion, and that we don't take advantage of that passion for free labor, that we start to compensate them and help them help them meet their needs. So thank you.
What I'm going to state, we've got quite a bit to do today. Thank you, Skylar. Let's call the other two up quickly, and try to hold it to 2 minutes for us. Get done in 2 minutes. Austin, is it Bomer?
Bomar, sorry.
Bomar, thank you. You're up.
Thank you, Representative Phil, and thank you, committee. This is my first time ever at a hearing like this or speaking. I'm very excited. I am a senior at Georgia State University, and I'm about to start my student teaching here in Fulton County next semester. I am very excited, but I am also very stressed and scared. The burnout that Representative Phil was talking about is real. I am very lucky that I'll be able to live at home and live with my family while I do my student teaching, but that's not accurate and true for all of my colleagues that are about to start theirs. They are going to feel burnt out. I know that the payments of everything and having to buy food, rent, gas, everything like that is such a stressful thing to think about. And with this bill, it'd be help prepare money for not only the now, but the future to start my career, the future to help build my classroom and help build the minds of the young educators that are coming in my class. So I'm very excited. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, Austin. Next up, I believe, is Robert Adcock. Acock. There you go, Robert. I see you. Sorry.
Hello, I'm Robert Acock with the Professional Association of Georgia Educators. To save time, I'm not going to belabor the points that the previous speakers have made, just try to add a couple of things. Like I said, we represent about 93,000 educators, and we survey those educators quite often. And when we ask them about their student loan debt burdens, we found for the newest teachers about 38,000 average, but the more interesting thing we found is that getting HOPE didn't actually cut down the odds of getting loans. So as they said, a lot of that burden is coming from living expenses. And let's say you're a first-generation college student trying to make college work, and you're taking on those loans, and you're working, and things are hard, but they're making do. But then you get to that student-teacher requirement, and you have to drive, say, an hour to and from. You can't work anymore. The maths kind of starts mathing, and we would hate for anybody to have to drop out of an education program and not fill one of those 53,000 teacher vacancies that are currently existing. Overall, we are absolutely supportive of this. Student teaching is a great program, We've seen evidence from the PSC that people who complete a traditional program do have a higher retention rate over about 5 or 6 years than people on alternative programs. So there's obviously something to student teaching that is keeping people in the classroom. And we think it honestly would be a return on investment for Georgia to do this. Overall, happy to answer any questions, but just want to say thank you for this consideration, getting the ball rolling for next year, and thank you to Representative Lallier for bringing up this important issue. With that, I ask your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Representative. I think you've hit on an important topic for us to have conversation about. Let's continue it. You and I have already had some very good conversation. Members, let's stay focused on this topic. As you saw on your agenda, we're just hearing only on it today. You heard from some of the audience. So let's continue the conversation in hopes that at the end of the next biennial we can be moving something. It'd be a good bill.
Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I believe what we'll do at this time, members, we're still waiting for the author of 152 to get through and get back to us, but what I can do is we have some members of the audience here that want to speak to the bill 152. So I'm going to call you up and we're going to begin, members, if you would, looking at HB 152. And let's start with the first member. And let me tell you, we've got a pretty long list. I hadn't counted them yet. But a couple of minutes up at the podium. Please give us your best 2 minutes you can give us. And then hopefully by that time we can get to the end and keep all our folks here so we can keep a quorum and vote in moving or not moving this. So the first one up, I believe, is it Holly Terry? Is that right? Holly, if you would, come up to the podium, please introduce yourself, and we'll give you your 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Holly Toure. I am a longtime school choice advocate for the state of Georgia. I wanted to just touch on the fact that over the last 5 years, I have had the opportunity to present on this issue, speak statewide as well as nationally, and now, as of late, assist parents in the process of applying for the Georgia Promise Scholarship. I have heard the testimonies of parents, hundreds if not thousands, as they share how life-changing this opportunity would be for their child. And I implore you to think how devastating it will be for a parent to come to the conclusion that they've had this dangling carrot in front of them that would provide a life-changing opportunity just to have it stripped away. And as a parent myself who has 2 children in the public sector, 2 in the private sector, I've been a beneficiary of vouchers, as more classically known myself. I know how life-changing accessing an educational environment that is most conducive to the learning needs of a specific child can be. And so as I sit here and I listen to us talk about giving more money to certain programs or more money to higher ed programs, I'm wondering, what about those children that might not ever be able to obtain the opportunity for higher education without accessing educational choice? What about the children that the last thing they're thinking about is computer literacy? They just want to go to a safe school. And so I beg you to take that into account. And I hope that these parents will not have to look at the state legislature and know that they have actively worked against their child accessing what they desperately need. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, ma'am. The next speaker I have is Nicole Dole. Is it Nicole? Come up there, introduce yourself, please, and the podium is yours.
Okay. Hello, my name is Nicole Doyle, and I am the co-founder of the Georgia Black Home Educators Network. We are the host of the Flourish Black Family Homeschool Conference in DeKalb County. For the last 3 years, we had 350 in-person attendees. I am also chair emeritus of the DeKalb Christian Home Educators. This is year 36 of DeKalb Christian Home Educators. We have graduated homeschoolers to Dartmouth, MIT, Harvard, and my baby at Morehouse. I am also a part of Eastside Academic Studies, and that is the only homeschool cooperative here in the state of Georgia able to administer the PSAT. Lastly, I'm the homeschooling mom of 4, and I have graduated 3 of my own out of my 4 into college. So I have the experience of being a homeschool parent who has had to drive Uber to be able to have my children afford various things. I am asking you all to stick with the current requirement of it being about the school zones. So many of my homeschool parents, as they come every year to our homeschool co-op for open house, they come to see the platform and they love everything they see, but 25% of them leave because this is a logistical and a financial privilege to actually be homeschooling. And so I am asking you to really take into account one of the things, family unity. If you're zoned by the school, but your second grader is in a school that's not, but you have a middle schooler who is, it's vitally important for homeschoolers to be able to keep their families together. Next, many of us as homeschoolers, engaged homeschoolers, we plan 6 to 9 months out. This is not a joke that we just start today. So when you are changing the rules in the middle of the game, as you said, you breaking the promise that you made to so many to have access to homeschooling, we will really appreciate you just sticking with those rules. And last but not least, this is a study by Dr. Sherifield Smith out of University of Georgia. This is creating educational justice, learning from black home educators. We participated in a study along with 16 other homeschool cooperatives ranging all the way from, and we have about 4 of them here in Georgia. So thank you, and please stick with the bill.
Good, right on the mark. Thank you very much, Nicole. Next up, I believe, is Kennedy Aikens. Kennedy, come on up. Introduce yourself, and then the podium is yours.
Thank you. Chairman Urban and members of the committee, my name is Kennedy Atkins. I'm the Government Affairs Manager at the Georgia Public Policy Foundation and Georgia Policy Impact. Representative Wilkerson kind of stole my points earlier, but we remain neutral in the underlying bill, but we are opposed to Section 2, which we believe would reduce eligibility for parents and students who want to use this program. We believe that changing the eligibility now will only add more confusion for parents as they seek to use this program. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kennedy. Margaret?
Good afternoon. I'm Margaret Ciccarelli from Page. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. Wanted to, well, wow, this is a big policy to be considering on day like 38 and a half. We appreciate the clarification that this version of the bill provides about what schools kids who are eligible for the new voucher program actually attend. What is clarified in here is what many of us thought we passed when the legislature passed the this voucher program. So we appreciate those changes that were made and would ask you to support those. We have concerns about the underlying bill, however. It seems strange to us that we would be providing a voucher for students, the foster siblings of kids in the foster care system, but not those students themselves. So that is kind of a weird posture to be in, though we do strongly appreciate the effort to incentivize fostering and adopting, which is fantastic. If you were to pass this bill, we hope that you would add some additional transparency items that might make parents utilizing this program more informed consumers, allowing them to know if the private schools accepting the voucher would provide special education services to those students, how long those schools had been in operation, and the retention rate of those schools, which are things that is important for us to know about all schools. So again, we don't love the underlying bill. I'm sure y'all are not surprised to hear that, considering our historical stance on this program. We do appreciate the clarification that it provides. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
There you go. There you go. Thank you. Michaela?
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for your time today. My name is Michaela Arciaga. I'm the Georgia Advocacy Director for IDRA. We are an education policy research and advocacy nonprofit. We are opposed to both the underlying bill and the amended version of the bill, especially given that the program has not expanded the safeguards that we would want to see for both financial and individual protections in this program that we would expect from any other publicly funded program in our state, including our public schools. We have not remediated the financial concerns that we've raised about this program in 2023, specifically around accountability mechanisms that are used in this program. I believe there's some effort to do that in this bill, and we do appreciate the transparency there. But there is still no mechanism for accounting what happens to taxpayer funds if a child unenrolls, expels, or transfers between schools. I think the transient experience that many foster kids have highlights some of the concerns we might have for kids who are participating in this program as well. Further, we have not codified any of the individual protections we'd want to see for children who might need to access this school. I appreciate the parent who shared that we want safe schools for our kids, and the Promise Scholarship can help do that, but the Promise Scholarship does not protect kids or promise to protect kids from discrimination. These private schools are still allowed to discriminate against children with disabilities, children from historically marginalized backgrounds, children with discipline histories, and none of this has been remediated in this bill or the amended version of it, and should be addressed before this program is enacted in this fall. We do appreciate some of the clarity that was added here. I think in some ways it does muddy the waters. Unfortunately, I know the attempt has been made, but I think you have more time to clarify more of this language and codify more of the protections that every private school should be held to if they receive money from our taxpayers in the state. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Michaela. Michael? Introduce yourself, Michael, and then the podium's yours.
Yes, sir. Michael Sullivan, Executive Director of Georgia Can. We've been supportive of this program since it was originally instituted. Our belief all along has been that we put parents in charge of their child's education, give them every opportunity to attend the school or put their child in the educational environment that's going to best work for them. That's been our stance all along. The way that the current bill has passed into law is one in which I think has served to help parents understand their eligibility. I think it's served to help, as Representative Wade said, keep people together, keep families together, allowing them to all attend the same K-12 school if need be. The overall goal of everybody should be to recognize that even in the best school, the worst school, whatever type of school that they're in, we want to find the right setting for a child to be able to go to wherever is going to work for them. So I support the underlying bill. I support the effort to ensure that as many children as possible have the ability to go to a school that is going to work for them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jamie? Introduce yourself, Jamie, please, and then the podium's yours.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm Jamie Lord. Today, on behalf of American Federation for Children, a national advocacy organization that seeks to promote educational opportunities for all students who need it. And personally, I have been advocating for what we now lovingly refer to as the Promise Scholarship Program for at least a decade of my life, probably more. So there have been a lot of iterations of this bill before this became law, and I am very familiar with a lot of the laws and policies that are similar to this in other states around the country. And just for some perspective, at least in terms of the southeastern states, while this original Promise Scholarship Program has been limited to students that fall into the bottom 25% of public schools in terms of performance, around us, most states are going the other way. They're expanding programs, more limited programs to include more students. I know Tennessee's going from a county-based model to a statewide. There are other states that have limited eligibility that are seeking to expand that. I think with the understanding that, as we all say, education is not a one-fits-all proposition. Kids are different, they have different needs, and you could even have a student who's in one of the best performing public schools in the state who's just struggling for a reason that is unique to them, be it their own learning needs, a family dynamic, who knows. So while we love the creation of the Promise Scholarship, we will always be seeking to expand opportunities to students who don't yet have it, even under the wonderful programs that we have, this one and Special Needs Scholarship and charter schools and all the other things that we support. One thing I will mention, just based on some of the discussion, we do support the underlying bill. It's a very, very small expansion of eligibility. As we've discussed, this doesn't even apply to all foster students in the state. It would only be those who are adopted out of foster care, or if the Senate is able to take this further, if it goes back over there. There was mention about in the process of adoption, but as the bill is right now, it's just the adopted students out of foster care, not all foster students. For reasons that Senator Dolezal mentioned, that gets clunky to include all foster students, and really what we want is a parent making a decision on behalf of a child, not someone who has a temporary guardianship that may be a few months or even a year, because what we understand is that students need continuity, especially students with extra needs like this. And that kind of brings me to Section 2 of the bill, which is new language to us as of today. And
Okay, we need to be closing up, please.
We'll close up. I don't want to rehash. I know a lot of people have already talked about family continuity, but certainly student continuity as well. And so just understanding that, parents often need to plan long in advance of just the year right before they're entering a school to make sure that they can find the right place for the child. So I wasn't in the meetings about interpreting the rules, but I can see some policy reasons why it may have been done the way it was and why it might cause some problems for families navigating this program if it were to change. But we do support the bill and urge its passage overall. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Jamie. Members, let's do this at a moment. I'm going to pause us on 152, let you sit and read through it. And that exhausted our list now of presenters there, and we'll be in pause. We are watching the author in his committee right now, and then also checking on who might carry that in the House if it did pass, if they need to present. So just stand by with me. We'll pause until we can get more information here. So please don't go anywhere so we can keep a quorum.
Oh, you mean if we leave, then there's no form to pass this bill?
Giving them their pay, earning your pay, not that.
He's earned his words this year.
Now, members, that doesn't mean you can't go to the bathroom or can't go get you a water or something, yeah. And just stay hydrated. That'd be a good idea.
I'll take one.
Double IPA.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I just realized.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support. It means a lot.
Okay.
In August. Yes, sir. I'm still waiting to hear about where I'll be at school. Very excited. Middle school. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, we'll keep you up to date on the Promise. I think it's all the
Dr.
Hackett's class? We will have him next semester. Okay, I had him. I know he came out here last year. Yeah, I had him last semester, but he's more interested. Yeah, I'd be happy to get you any of the data that shows specifically from New Mexico, because they're going into year 3 of this, so they can actually go and say, look, the students that have participated in this have stayed at a higher rate and things like this, and save money to the districts. That would be sorry, I know I didn't have a lot to add or share. Honestly, their work. We have the money to do it, and especially trying to address the fact that there is like there's no state reimbursement. That doesn't exist at the state level. It's at the federal level, and like I said, part of but
Someone did mention in the absence of compensating student teachers, how many are not pursuing the program?
Yes.
Which makes sense.
For sure, and I'm working on doing that right now because I found out that the deans have to send a report whenever a student drops from the College of Education. So they have said that they should be getting that to me soon, saying just how many people have dropped out and if it's been financial reasons. Yeah. If there's anything else I can do, I brought these. I don't know if it's just like a little one-pager and stuff like that. So
There'll be more work involved. I think the testimonials from student teachers really understood just how important some rules to be working towards.
well, and we have a ton of those, and if it would be helpful to have them do like a video recording or like whatever they can do during the off season, like, hey, you just finished student teaching, tell us what it was like, and we can start up something like that. Just whatever you think would be helpful.
I like about later too.
Just to make sure that appreciate you. Thanks for having this.
Members, if you would, work back over to your seats. We're told that the author is on his way and will be here. We only have this room for a few more minutes. We don't have much more time in here. So we're trying to maximize the use of our ability at this room, which we won't have again for quite a while. Thank you, Senator. If you would come back up here, we have paused for a moment. I hate that we have pulled you out. You need a copy. We're bringing you one right here. I know. Thank you for traveling and working so hard, Senator, on that. I'm going to cut your microphone back on here if I can with you, and we are very limited, first of all, from you. Any closing comments that you thought of since you went to your last rules meeting there?
No, Mr. Chairman, I obviously missed the testimony, but I certainly always appreciate working with you and your committee, and will respect the will of the committee. I think that this foster care bill is something that's really important to get done for foster families. I'm afraid that the inclusion of Section 2 will be a speed bump for it to get done in the Senate. But again, I appreciate working with you and respect the will of the committee.
Great. Thank you. Number 10, you're flashing.
At the appropriate time, sir.
It is the appropriate time. I see no other questions. What is the will?
I'd like to move that Senate Bill SB 152 receive the due pass designation. I think that's LC 492402S.
That is correct. Okay, we've got a motion of due pass. Do we have a second?
Second.
We do have a second. Discussion number 3.
I would like to make an amendment at the appropriate time.
I won't entertain an amendment at this time. We're short. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Your bill passes. You sure can. You sure can. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign, raise your right hand. Okay. Okay, it carries. Senator, hold on. Who is going to carry your bill?
I believe I'll continue to carry the bill, Mr. Chairman. Over here.
Yes.
I'm losing track. I'm over in Senate rules.
I know we're working you hard, Senator.
Chairman, would you be interested in carrying the bill? I know we hadn't discussed that, but I'd be interested if you'd like to, or if anybody else would be on the committee would like to. I'd be open to whoever you think would be best.
We've got a couple interested.
Great.
And so we'll determine that here. Thank you. Members, thank you. Good, hard day. We made it by 8 minutes. So thank you very much for your time.